Hey, you guys. Hey, Chalk Mercantile and Surface Anthology. We're back with the little antique child's chair and a change in color choice. Hope you guys are well. It's almost the weekend. Great time to paint, pick up those projects. So here's our little chair, which I started by cleaning. I painted it in a mixture of Miss Mustard Seed, Farmhouse White, and Ironstone, just to give it a little bit of a creamy white. And last we met, there was an issue with bleeding, which is not bad at all. I could barely see it, so I'm leaving it alone. I'm not going to mess around with this. If it was really bad, I would grab the Zinsser Bullseye Shellac Clear. That is my go-to. I've tried everything, and that to me is the only thing that works. Zinsser Bullseye Shellac in clear. And the reason I don't say they have a white one is that if we were doing dark colors and I put on a white shellac and I want to distress down, I'm going to have a layer of white in there. So I'd rather it just be clear so it kind of disappears, but we're fine with this. So first thing we're going to do, even though we're going to be using, this is a beeswax puck, and this is what we're going to be using to distress this piece or to create more depth and texture. But before I start with that, I'm going to mix up my milk paint, because if you remember, we want it to kind of sit for a few minutes. It's best, honestly, to do it the night before. All right. Oh, and by the way, after the great debate last night in my household, I am going with the color Mora, which I absolutely love. It's kind of this really pale green. It's just gorgeous. So that's what we're going with, because we got to keep everybody happy. All right. So I'm putting quite a bit in there. And we start off with half water, half paint. And you can always add more water. If you add too much water to milk paint, you just leave it uncovered for a little while. And I don't have my little whisk. The whisk definitely works the best. You leave it uncovered for a little while and the water will evaporate. Milk paint, remember, is made with milk proteins, so it actually goes bad. And if you see milk paint in a can that's liquid and it says it's milk paint, it is absolutely not milk paint. Milk paint is always in a powder form. So that's what I use, the real deal. But you can keep it, you can put it in the refrigerator and it will keep, I might use it over 1 or 2 days, but I've heard people say it will keep for a couple of weeks. I haven't tried that yet. So I try to just mix up as much as I'm going to use. So there it is. So we'll put this aside, let the water or let the pigments absorb the water. Get that out of the way. And now to use this beeswax puck, we're just going to rub it over the paint. And you know, you could think of it this way when you're distressing. Where would it naturally get worn over time, you know? And there's nothing worse to me than seeing a dresser, and I call it leopard spots on the front. They don't distress anywhere around the handles or the doors where people would touch it, but they distress in these odd areas that are spots, and they make no sense. Painted antiques, and there are a lot of them that you could study, tell a story. They tell a story. And if they don't tell a story, there's a way to do that when you're recreating those. But you need to study original painted antiques, or you know, look at painted furniture around your house if you have any, and they tell a story and they have a soul. So we want to try to recreate that with authentic products and techniques. So I'm gonna distress this along the front edge of the seat, in the middle of the seat, along the legs, especially at the bottom. And you just take your puck and you rub it along. And this actually doesn't distress, but it creates a layer between the two colors of milk paint. And this is pure beeswax. It's all natural. We love it. Let me get my water out of the way. I love doing this. It's just a really, I love to have different ways to create texture and depth in a painted surface. And this is a good one. So I'm just going to continue. Let's get the back here. Now when you're painting, say, an entire set of chairs, you absolutely want to do them all at the same time. You don't want to do, you know, 3 chairs and then wait a year and then do your other chairs, because they're going to look different. Even if you follow the same formula for your paint, all of that. Oh, a little friend. Because paint oxidizes. So I've had so many customers say, Jane, I bought this color wax. I need to touch up the middle of my dining room table. You can really mess around with it and try, but just know it's not going to be exactly the same until it oxidizes, and even then it's going to look different. So try to get all your sets done at the same time. Okay. Now, if you haven't noticed, if you go to chalkmercantile.com, and I never do sales, but Miss Mustard Seed is on sale. It's 25% off. So if you're a milk paint user, here's your chance to save. All right, I think we got a lot on there. And these colors are pretty close, so we'll see how this looks. Okay, do the front. There. Now, let's see how our Mora's doing. And yep, it's just amazing. Just let it sit for a few minutes and it gets so much thicker. Unfortunately, well, I'm okay with it being lumpy. I don't have my little whisk with me, and that little tiny whisk really does a good job, believe it or not, of getting these lumps out. So I'm just trying to knock some of those out, and I'm actually going to add a little bit more water. This is a tiny bit thick for me. All right, let's see. Now, milk paint, if you paint it on raw wood, you can also use it as a stain. The wood just absorbs it, drinks it right up. All right, that looks good. Whoop! Let's start painting. Got my brush. I wet my brush. I tell everybody, wet your brush before you dip it in the paint so it won't get the paint up into the ferrule. Now, I'm not going to paint the bottom of the chair, just the legs and around the edge, because I love when I see antique painted furniture like that. And again, I'm really going to be messy with this. And give it a stir. When you're creating that European, you know, French and antique Swedish, the Gustavian antique painted furniture look, milk paint is hands down the best way to do that. And it's not, people think of it as, you know, something you would use for primitive, you know, early American kind of, I don't know, farmhouse, original farmhouse, not Chip and Joanna Gaines farmhouse. And they think of those reds and dark greens, that kind of thing. But you can get these beautiful pastel colors and real clear, like really clear pale blues that are just so beautiful when you're going for that Gustavian look. And milk paint, silver and gold leaf just go hand in hand. They're beautiful together. Okay. And for those of you that are sensitive, there's like no VOCs. It's a natural product. And if you use the hemp oil to finish it, it's really a natural product. A lot of the waxes have solvents, you know, turpentine, which I love the smell of. It reminds me of being back at art school and cleaning out oil paint brushes. But if you're sensitive, you could get a beautiful finish with hemp oil, which I am 100% out of right now. It's been very, very popular. All right, other side. And make sure when you paint your pieces that you take befores and afters. If you guys are in mine, I'd love for you to join my Surface Anthology Society. It's a Facebook group, which is very quiet, so I need some lively people in there. All us introverts, I think, are too shy to show off their work. So I'd love to see people who like to show off their work, ask questions, but you could post what you're working on and if you're having any issues, and to support other painters. All right. So do you see, I hope you could see on camera, it's a subtle green. It's got a little gray in it. It's not a mint green. But it's really beautiful. Okay, this is the longest part of this chair, is getting all the legs because of this little kind of ribbed pattern. Okay, I'm just gonna turn this around just to get in there. There we go. Okay. Stand her up. And let's do the best part, the seat. Nice. I love doing that because you really can see the color. And you see me agitating. There's the difference. Okay, so you see the white in this Mora. Make sure you agitate the paint like I just did, because the pigments settle at the bottom. Now, I want to show you when I get another little streak. If you don't do a good job mixing your milk paint, like me, there's one, you're going to get these little pigment streaks. Can you see that one right there? Doesn't bother me at all. I like it. But if you don't like it, I totally get that. You should mix your paint up an hour before. The night before would be the best. And just really mix it so you can blend all those little bits of pigment. And you won't get those. All right, let's get the edge here. And around the back. Now I have to say, I love Milk paint. I have customers who really love Milk paint. And there was a couple of homeowners who bought gallons or powder enough for gallons, like pounds, and they did the interiors of their antique houses, the walls. So they're perfect. The Milk paint is absolutely perfect for that. I live in Connecticut. There's a lot of old houses, and to do your walls in Milk paint, oh, I just think is wonderful. And it is really, really durable. It cures. It's very, very hard paint. Creates a really hard surface. Let's move this over. Now I'm using a synthetic brush. I really like these brushes. But a lot of times when I'm working with Milk paint, I do use natural bristle brushes to even create more texture. So that's another thing to experiment with, is the type of brush that you use. And let me tell you, tools make a big, big difference. Just like the quality of the products that you use, I'd rather see you invest in a good brush and not have one that's pushing the paint off. You want a brush that's going to lay the paint down. All right. I am slapping this paint on. And you do have to go back, especially with these kind of turned spindles. You have to go back and check for spooling. I mean, pooling. That's a new term, spooling, for when you're painting these spindles. Okay. And I'm laying it on because for this demonstration, I'm not going to be doing 2 coats. Though after, I may do that. And then tomorrow I want to show you guys how I finish this chair. Okay. Check your work. I know I'm going to have to look at the back here of these spools. Yes. All right. So when you're out and about, people are getting out more, hopefully. Hopefully we'll start getting out more again. But when you're out and about and you're in antique malls, shops, junk stores, if you see an old painted piece and you suspect it's the original paint, buy it. Because they're just so rare and they're so valuable. All right. I think I'm just going to check these legs. The second coat always goes on differently than the first coat. You'll see this with milk paint, chalk paint, all of that. Okay. I think that's good. I just don't want to have any pooling or drips. Looks good. I'm going to put this aside. And to push this along, I'm going to blow dry my chair. It's like being back in the chair when I used to do hair. So I'm going to do this really quickly, just for the upper part. And then, so you guys don't have to watch me try to dry those legs. Oop, and I see one little drippy spot. Okay. I do have a heat gun, but the issue with a heat gun is I have burnt the paint. They get really, really hot. So I am safer with a blow dryer. Turn this over and get the back. All right, let's see how it feels. Still a touch wet. Couple more seconds. Now you'll see me holding the blow dryer down on the paint, because what I'm noticing as I do this is I'm getting a nice little crackle. So use your tools that way. If you want to create a crackle, try using your blow dryer. Now, as we wait for this to cool, I don't want to get out the sanding block while it's still warm, but I'll show you the crackle. Let's see. Can you see it right there? I love that. And you could get it with different things, you know, the crackle glazes and stuff, but it's so nice when it happens naturally like that. It just adds to the texture. All right, let's push this along. We'll do the seat. So I've got an old sanding block. Sometimes the brand new sanding blocks can be too coarse. So let's give this a shot. And everywhere I put the beeswax puck, is just, the paint is just coming up. Because I don't necessarily want to go to the wood right now. The other tool you can use are these, like a metal scraper. Let me show you. I just use an old cotton rag. You can use a tack cloth or a microfiber cloth to remove the dust. But look at the texture that's happening now. That's just what I want. So what I'm going to do now is more of this. And I will post some pictures on my page, Surface Anthology, also Chalk Mercantile on Facebook, so you can see. I'll get some close-ups of this. I want all this other stuff to dry more before I hit it with the sanding block. So that's it. Join me tomorrow on Saturday, and we're going to finish this chair with some wax. And I might use some other products to give it a little more age depth to the paint finish. I'm not sure. I kind of wait to see what the finish looks like as I'm moving along, and that's when I make the decisions. So you guys, if you're interested in the Surface Anthology membership, by the way, it's opening in a few days. Go to chalkmercantile.com. You could sign up on the wait list, and you'll get an email from me when it opens. I hope you have a wonderful day today. Happy painting. I'll see you tomorrow.